So let's talk about what is IVR and what does it do. So IVR is an automated process to either route calls, allow a user to interact with an application, and more. Most people historically have thought of IVR as a process when you call your bank and you enter your account information, and then the system magically reads back your account balance, your next due date, things of that nature. So that's traditionally how IVR has been thought of. However, with ShoreTel's IVR, there's a lot more features involved, and IVR actually does a lot of the heavy lifting in the ACD process. So it does many more things than look up account information. Primarily, IVR is used as an auto attendant feature to offer a menu of options. Now, when I say auto attendant, most people think of PBX, but IVR can absolutely be configured to be your auto attendant. We use auto attendant and IVR to make call routing decisions. So if I do press 1, 2, or 3, I know where to route that call. We can also use IVR to set a call's priority. So for example, if I think tech support calls should be handled ahead of customer service calls, I can give them another priority, and that's what I'll show you a little bit later. IVR is also used for playing messages in queue. This is pretty important because oftentimes when you think of queuing, a system will have the ability to play messages in queue, but oftentimes in ACD you want to extend that capability. Because IVR is directly connected to the ACD, they intermingle very seamlessly, and this is where you can use it to play music, messages in queue, and more importantly, those messages can be dynamic, meaning they can change based on information found in a database or the type of caller, meaning customer service will hear something completely different than tech support. It can connect to a database. This happens to be one of the greatest features I think is available in the ShoreTel ECC IVR. Connecting to a database anymore these days, in my opinion, should be out of the box and easy to navigate. And lastly, IVR is often used and primarily used for DTMF, which is the ability to enter information on a keypad so you can make a menu choice, enter account information, or enter any digit or process to make a routing decision. Now, there are a lot of other uses within ShoreTel's IVR. And onto the right side, you'll see a list of the toolbox and the widgets available. And here are some of the other options you can use IVR for. You can have it set up to log agents or allow agents to log in and out of primary groups. So there are some contact center environments where they do not want a desktop interface, but they want the agent to be able to reach for their phone, dial some digits, and log in. So there is actually a tool for that. Now here's where we talk about IVR applications. Inside the IVR, you can create small widgets or applications that will track how many callers pressed option 1, option 2, etc. This is sort of an misunderstood option in ShoreTel's Contact Center, but it's worth its weight in gold when you're trying to navigate IVR, which is usually not depicted on a desktop screen while it's happening in real time. It does give you the ability to peer inside IVR and see what's actually happening. IVR is also used for callbacks. That could be a callback in queue. It could be a scheduled callback or abandoned callbacks. I point this out because oftentimes when the system is configured to do a callback, you may want to use IVR to look up information about that caller so that when the agent connects to the individual, they know who they're speaking with and the reason they might have called previously. IVR is also used for doing outbound dials. The outbound dial can be part of a dial list for an outbound campaign. It can also be an agentless process where we simply just leave automated messages, or you can have it interact with an agent. It gives you a little bit of both options. So IVR is used for that. You can use IVR to create and handle surveys, also part of outbound dialing. It also is used for sending messages to folks that might be using a multimedia channel such as web chat. So if someone's waiting in queue in a web chat, IVR can send them messages intermittently. And lastly, IVR has a built-in capability to read dates, times, money, and numbers, and it can read information from a database as it relates to date, time, money, and numbers. So it's fairly flexible, lots of options available in IVR, and because there are so many available features, I wanted to point out what I find are the most valuable features in IVR to kind of distill it down, because I've just thrown a lot of information at you. These are the 4 pieces I find the most helpful. Number 1, the tool is a drag and drop configuration tool. You'll see me configure that towards the end of our session today. 90% of the tool is drag and drop. There are pieces that need to be filled in, but it's set up so that it's easy to figure out which pieces need to be addressed or configured. Connecting to a database is native to ShoreTel's IVR. This is a huge win because many contact center offerings in IVR that when you want to connect to a database requires an inordinate amount of professional services. ShoreTel has it out of the box. Contact center, I kind of jokingly say you can point and click your way to happiness. It's really that easy, and I'm going to show you how we connect to an IVR. It is an out-of-the-box feature. And the ability to create user-specific call profiles, this will make sense in a moment. This simply allows me to custom define the information that is associated with a call. I'm going to point this out in the next couple of slides. And lastly, I like it because it uses very basic, simple logic, meaning, is the value true or false, or is the answer yes or no? Because I have a database connector, and I can look at the information I might be receiving from the database, and I can say, is it true or false? I can almost do anything with IVR so long as I am logical and to be smarter than the system. I'm going to show you a couple things today. So lastly, I want to point out what IVR does not do, just so you really understand where you might need additional help. IVR does not process payments natively. Most IVRs do not. It requires that you have a merchant services account and a merchant services process to navigate, which usually involves a level of web services, unless the application has a server on site that is localized. It does not provide built-in web services processing. Now, there is a web services plugin that I like to use, but out of the box, it does not exist. There is a DLL component, but I find the DLL component requires customization, and the downside is that I don't get to see the elements of the DLL. In other words, if I must use a tool, I want to at least see what the tool is asking me. Is it asking for an account number, and is it going to give me back an account balance? That's really important. But IVR does not contain a web services process out of the box. It also does not provide speech recognition. It also does not do text-to-speech. If you're not familiar with text-to-speech, let's say, for example, my customer is Christopher Riccio, me. If I enter my account number, it could not read back, your name is Christopher Riccio. That requires a customization. Although it can be done, it is not built in natively. IVR is also not agent aware, meaning oftentimes clients want a call to be sent to an agent. And before it's sent to the agent, they want IVR to first see if the agent is available. This is what I mean, but that it's not agent aware. It is also not group aware. You can't give it a condition that says if the group is everyone's busy in that group, send the call somewhere else. However, with web services plugin, you could navigate both of these. So these are the most common things that people ask, and I'm just pointing out here that IVR does not contain these options.